Howdy, howdy. Welcome back. Hope you guys are doing well today. So, I want to get on here and talk to you guys. I have a little bit of time to talk to you. I want to get on here and talk to you guys about a conversation I had the other day with another gentleman. Um, now, I've shared this a few times, but where I worked, um, everybody knew that I was a Christian, right? Everybody knew that that's how I carried myself. And one day it was me and a couple of other fellers around, the job site, and we were talking about Jesus a little bit. And one guy walks up, and the guy next to me asks him. He says, "Are you a Christian?" He says, "Oh yeah, I'm a Christian." And this guy curses a lot, but that's what you get nowadays. Not that I'm being judgmental or nothing, but he says, "Yeah, I'm a Christian," and he kind of looks at me and he says, "But I'm not as bold as he is about it. I'm not as open as he is about it." I said, "What do you mean by that?" He was like, "Well, I don't go around flaunting and saying that I'm a Christian." And I thought about that. And when I thought about it, I responded to him and I said, "Listen," I said, "if we are Christians, right, we are called to be in the world and not of the world, right? And along with being not of the world, that requires us to be different, that requires us to sound different and look different than the world, right? Because if not, how is the world going to know that you're a Christian? I mean, just because you say so doesn't mean a thing, right? But one thing that I said to this gentleman, you know, um, if we believe that Jesus is who he says he is, and if we believe in the Christian faith and all that Scripture teaches and calls for us to do, Mark 16:15, I believe it is, where it says, "Go into the world and preach the gospel to all creation." I could not fathom, right, having a friend or family or someone that I cared for deeply know that I am a Christian, but also know that I have never attempted to share my faith with them. I mean, can you imagine, you know, Christ comes back and calls us up and we're sitting there and our friend is next to us and, we live this normal lifespan, He looks and he says, "Trent, why didn't you tell me? Why didn't you warn me about Jesus? Why didn't you tell me about this? Now you're saved and I'm not. Why didn't you be bold? Why weren't you so outgoing with your faith?" The type of Christian who lives with that mindset of, "Oh, I'm not as bold about my faith as he is. I'm not as outward expressing of Jesus as this man is." That's kind of what I like to think about being a practical atheist, where you say you believe in God, but you live as you don't. Because the story of Jesus, right, and what he did for us, he took our sin on the cross. He died a death that was not his, and we gained a righteousness that was not ours. That is the most important thing in human history. And for the life of me, I don't understand why people don't want to share that with more people, right? That's one thing that I will never apologize for, is being bold about my faith. Because if you truly care for somebody, if you truly care for them, you're going to want to share the most important truth that this world has to offer, and that's Jesus, right? And the Christian, right, who does that is in the world, but not of it, all right? You have a different identity. You walk differently, you act differently, you speak differently. For the life of me, I don't understand why you don't want to share that with more people, especially if you say you love someone. And time again, I've come on here and said that, I'd rather offend people into heaven than to flatter them into hell. And that saying's true, you know. We've gotten to the point now to where it's embarrassing to pray in front of people when you go down for a lunch break. We've gotten to the point to where people think it's weird to talk about Jesus, but it's completely normal to assume you're something than what God created you to be. Blows my mind. We're living in a time where Scripture warns us toward the end that people will call good evil and evil good. And that's where we're sitting at right now. So don't be that type of Christian. Don't be the type of Christian where you're scared to share the most important, monumental truth with the world. Because when you do that, you deny sharing Jesus, right? The truth about him, and you're by default denying Jesus himself. How could you not want to share that with somebody, right? And even if you don't go all out and say, hey, I'm a Christian, some people are very, adamant or too much over the top with it. But like I've said in previous videos, they should know you're different by the way you carry yourself, and that alone will be a conversation starter. So hope you guys are blessed. Hope this touched you. I want to say I appreciate you guys for watching the videos and liking the videos. Every time you guys give the videos a thumbs up, it pushes the content out to more people. And I just want to say thank you guys for all you who support, and all you people who do the super chat donations. You don't have to do it, but you do it out of the kindness of your heart. And I'm thankful. So I appreciate you guys for watching, man. And I will see y'all next episode.